right, here we are on to the next one. We're going to get into sport and exercise psychology. This is one of my favorite topics, so let's dive into it. We're going to look at how sport and exercise psych evolved within kinesiology. We'll look at some research findings on personality, motivation, arousal, anxiety in sport and exercise settings, and then some mental skill training to help to improve our performance in sports. So, first is what can you actually do if you were to get a master's or a PhD in sport or exercise psychology? University professor is one of the most common routes, but you can also go into psychology services. And so, becoming a sport psychologist, where you're working with university athletes, Olympians, professionals, where you're working for an athletic program, providing your service, or going into exercise psychology, working in worksite health promotion, or fitness businesses. And so there's actually some routes that you can go through after becoming a certified psychologist and specializing in a certain area. There are opportunities out there. We'll define the difference between sport and exercise psychology right here. So when we think of exercise psychology, I want you to think of just like exercise without the sport context, okay? I want you to think of just fitness, health, someone who is a recreational exerciser, someone who focuses on like overall holistic wellness, something like that. A professional who is an exercise psychologist would treat somebody who is struggling maybe with body image, struggling maybe with being obsessed with exercise, someone maybe who has some sort of obsession or phobia about exercise that they're trying to get past or trying to work through. Anybody that would just need guidance or counseling because of some sort of mental health issue that's related to exercise or health and wellness. A sports psychologist would work with someone who is struggling mentally on the competitive aspect of sport participation, whether they have extreme anxiety when they step onto the field or that they can't cope with the competitiveness of, with their teammates or with a coach. They can't handle the pressure, or they can't like get out of their head because of they keep choking or keep messing up their sport. So there's lots of different reasons someone would see one of these professionals. And we'll dive into these topics a little bit more. What we're really going to discuss today is personality, motivation, arousal, anxiety, and then some intervention techniques and methods to help improve our physical activity performance. So first, research findings looked at personality types in sports and wanted to see if there were similarities. And they actually found that there was no set personality trait for someone who is an athlete, basically saying that athletic personalities, their traits are all completely different. So someone who's an athlete, there's no set personality trait. They did find that successful athletes had more positive self-perceptions. And so having a positive self-perception means you have a high self-esteem, you have a positive self-image, you basically are proud of your accomplishments and you perceive yourself very highly, very well. Also that athletes use more productive cognitive coping strategies, which we'll talk about at the end of this lecture. Then they looked at personality types in exercise. They also found that there was no set traits for somebody who exercises. So they looked at a group of exercisers and found that there's actually no similar personality traits between people who are a regular exerciser. What they did find was persistent and consistent exercisers are more self-motivated and confident in their abilities. So being self-motivated means that they don't need someone to push them out the door to go exercise. They are motivated by themselves. Their self-determination is very high. And they're very confident in their abilities. And that was very common among all exercisers, which is very cool. Now we flip it around and we look at what is the effect of sport on personality. And they found that sport itself does not build character, but most athletes usually do have high character. And where did that come from? Moral development and those pro-social behaviors had to be modeled and created. And so people build character. Teammates build character, not just playing a sport. So it wasn't like the actual playing a sport itself built character. It was the modeling of the behavior, whether it's a parent, a coach, a trainer. That's what creates character in sports. And then the effect of exercise on personality. So exercise has been shown to enhance self-concept. Self-concept means you know who you are proud of what you've accomplished, proud of what you're doing, and you, again, have a high self-esteem. Improve psychological well-being and less likely to have anxiety and depression, which we know exercise is a big reliever of feeling anxious or depressed. All right, now we're talking about motivation. This is where I did my graduate thesis, this topic. I looked at motivation and exercise, looking at intrinsic versus extrinsic and amotivation. And so let's delve into it. So first, motivation, very complex phenomenon. We see internal, external forces that drives our behavior in whether we play a sport or whether we exercise. We want to develop intrinsic motivation. That's the goal, is we want to have motivation come from a internal source of love and happiness and fun. And there are 4 parts right here: flow, competence, and autonomy and relatedness that creates intrinsic motivation. Flow is being completely absorbed in the task and just like so absorbed in it that you don't really think about anything else. Competence means you know how to do it and probably do it well, but competence is like your ability to do something successfully. Autonomy means you are choosing to do this on your own, and it's auto means self. And so like you're self-motivated, you have high autonomy, means you are doing something for you. And then relatedness is a connection that you feel with someone else, where you are doing the same thing and you just feel like this connection or this relatedness with the activity and, possibly someone else. Extrinsic rewards are okay. They are completely fine. And they do enhance motivation. Everybody exercises for at least one extrinsic reward or extrinsic factor, even though developing intrinsic motivation is the overall goal. And so let's first talk about flow. Flow is really cool. It's this time during your workout when you're so absorbed and you can't think about or process anything else. But that's great because all you're thinking about is your activity. So I want you to think about a time that you may have experienced flow, and I'll share mine. Is like when I first, I'll tell you when I run, I run a lot. I am actually thinking a lot about other things. I'm not actually thinking about my breathing or my foot strike or my movement or my route or whatever. I'm actually just in my head a lot. And that's completely okay. But when I ski, I go snow skiing in Colorado. And that is where I am so focused on the activity, because I find it also to be kind of a dangerous activity that I have to be so absorbed in it that I am only thinking about my movement. I'm only thinking about the movement of my skis, the movement of my hips, how I'm bending my knees, how I'm shifting my weight. I think about the mountain terrain. I'm looking at other people, making sure they're not in my pathway. I'm thinking about like which route I'm going down. And so I'm just 100% absorbed in the activity. And for me, that's flow. Like I'm totally absorbed in it and I'm really enjoying it. And so that is my flow experience. And so I want you to think about yours. And so let's go through these different types of amotivation and kind of have some little quotes for each one. First, amotivation is on the low self-determination side. You're not really self-determined, and you may be doing an activity or a workout or a sport, but you have no idea why. You don't know what the point is. You don't understand it. You don't get it. You don't like it. You're like, I don't understand. Why am I doing this? Controlled extrinsic versus autonomous extrinsic are similar, but controlled is an external factor controlling your behavior, such as my parents want me to play this sport. I need a scholarship. That's why I'm playing soccer. I feel pressure from other people to play. I feel like a failure if I quit. So all those external factors pressing on the athlete, controlled extrinsic. Whereas autonomous extrinsic is where it's a little bit more positive and it's a little bit more about yourself, but it's still extrinsic, such as I am an athlete, so I play sports. I value what I learn. Maybe I learn teamwork and cooperation and self-discipline. Like it says, it teaches me self-discipline. What I get from sports is important to me. And so it's still extrinsic, but they're more positive and they're more about the person, the athlete. Some other extrinsic factors would be I want to win a prize, or I want to win this trophy. I want to get first place. It could be anything related to your health. It'd be I'm exercising because I want to lose weight. I'm lifting weights because I want to increase my muscle mass. I want to decrease my body fat. I want to improve my cardiovascular health. That's all extrinsic, even though it's positive. Like it's very positive outcomes that you would get, but it's still extrinsic. And that's okay. Another could be I go on walks because, it clears my head and allows me to have like positive mental health. I go and do a spin class because all my friends do it and I want to be with them. All extrinsic, and that's fine. Intrinsic motivation, really the only thing that's intrinsic is it's fun. I love it. I enjoy it. Example that you can probably relate to like a little bit more would be like, I love running because I love the way like my foot hits the ground with every foot strike. I love the way my body feels when it runs. I love swimming because I love feeling the water come over my body and drench me. I love to cycle because I love feeling the wind, in my face, and I love the repetitive movement of my legs as I move. I love covering this distance on my bike and being able to do it. And so again, those are all intrinsic motivators. And so this here is just like, I want you to think about your motivation. This is so important to think about. Why do you exercise? What fuels you? Why do you do what you do? And so read through this. Is it enjoyment, stimulation, weight loss, or fitness? Do you want to be a part of a group? What's most important to you? And so just think about what your favorite activity is and why are you motivated to do it? This YouTube link here at the bottom is a really cool video about motivation and it talks about it. And so I suggest watching it as well. All right, we're going to talk about arousal, a state of physical and psychological activation or readiness. You've probably felt this before if you have been an athlete or if you've competed, where we are about to start a race or the whistle's about to blow and the sport's about to start. When we feel this, it helps us to usually have high performance outcomes. But there's this inverted U model of arousal that basically shows that low arousal, when your heart rate's not pumping, your blood's not pumping, your hormones like adrenaline, epinephrine, they're not flowing, your performance is probably low. But then look at the high arousal side. Your performance also drops, and we'll talk about why. But you can become too aroused, and that can reduce your athletic performance. The appropriate amount of arousal is a moderate level. Moderate level of arousal equals the highest performance. Anxiety versus stress. We have two different definitions, even though sometimes these words are used together. Anxiety, negative response to a stressful situation where you feel apprehension or threat. So you're anxious. You feel like something is threatening. You are nervous. You are apprehensive about something. It's your negative response to a situation that you would find stressful because you think there's a threat or apprehension there. Stress is when there's a imbalance between what you feel that you are capable of doing and the demands of the situation. I think of stress as like taking a test where there's an imbalance between I didn't study for this test, so my capability of doing it, I cannot meet like the demands of the situation. So the demands are up here and my capabilities down here, like, so that creates stress. Or like I can't play against this team because this team, like their capabilities are way better than me and my team, and the demands of this situation. Like it's not going to work. And so they usually do go together, stress and anxiety, but they have actual different definitions. So back to talking kind of about arousal, we look at arousal and we look at identification of cues, okay? And so this will help us understand the inverted U model. And so we look over here, when our arousal level is too low, the athlete processes irrelevant cues. The focus is too broad. So if I'm playing on a field, like football on a field, and I'm like, oh, wow, there's a plane flying overhead. Okay, I shouldn't really be worrying about that. Oh, someone yelled somebody's name in the stands and I heard it. Probably shouldn't be listening to that. Oh man, I'm actually hungry. I probably should have ate a snack. Probably shouldn't be worried about that right now. So my level of arousal is too low and my focus is too broad. And then we come up here to when your arousal is too high. Um, Athlete fails to process task relevant cues. My focus is too narrow. We call this tunnel vision, right? So this tunnel vision where I'm only focused on what's right in front of me, and maybe the game starts playing and I miss that my teammate has called my name to, tell me to get in a certain position or a certain format. I miss the coach, yelling my name to go and do a certain movement. I fail to process like the person that's about to tackle me. And so my process is too narrow. My focus is too narrow because I'm so overly aroused. And so that's one thing. Also, over arousal can be like this false start where you go out too hard, you go out too fast. Like this happens to me in a race all the time when I get at the front of the starting line and I go out too fast and then I get burned within the first mile and then I'm exhausted the rest of the race. And so my arousal was way too high. I had to dial it back so I can kind of stay moderate the whole time. And so those are just two different examples. All right, so here are some mental skill training that we can do to improve our sport and physical activity performance. Goal setting, obviously, is a great one. Setting goals, long-term and short-term. We want to have stepping stones. We want to have that big goal at the very end, and then we want to have relevant goals that are achievable, that we can achieve maybe every 1 to 2 weeks or so until we hit that really big goal in, 6 months to a year or so. Self-talk, obviously, just make it positive. Tell yourself how amazing you are and that you're so proud of yourself at everything you've done and everything you've achieved. And so that constant stream of positive self-talk. Attentional control and focusing is just really focusing on what you're doing at that moment in that time and not thinking about anything else. Okay. Hold on. I tried to pause. Obviously that didn't work, but I'm going to keep going. So let's get back to where we were. Imagery is actually my favorite one. Imagery is where you are imagining yourself completing a task or playing a sport or winning the race. That's what I always think about is crossing that finish line and running past people. And so imagining yourself successfully performing it can actually enhance your performance. And then physical relaxation techniques, there's something called progressive relaxation, which is a contraction of muscles very slowly throughout the very bottom of your body, all the way to the top where you're slowly contracting your muscles hard and then relax. And it usually helps to relax your entire body. All right. Next, let's talk about choking. And we're obviously not talking about actual choking. We're talking about messing up during a sport or an activity. It's usually when our arousal is really high due to stress or extra pressure, which makes us more self-focused. You would think self-focus is actually a good thing, but self-focus can cause where we are focused on our inadequacies and we think about them too much, and then it ends up that we actually make those mistakes. We are attempting to consciously control our performance, but we're trying to control the performance too much rather than just letting go and playing. Hey, stop. And that's usually what leads to choking. So what can we do about it? What can we do about choking? And so I want you to think about that question and see how have you solved and kind of not feeling so much pressure or stress on you when doing an activity or a sport. What strategies have you used in the past to deal with this? This is a really good question because sometimes I remember in high school, this happened to me all the time playing soccer. I would choke and it would just really ruin the rest of the sport for me, the rest of the game. And so I want you to come up with some strategies that you've used. Think about how can we prevent this? Mindfulness is a way that we can be in the present moment. Mindfulness is being present, not thinking about the past and not thinking about the future. And I'm someone who's always thinking about the future. I'm always planning and looking forward to the future, being caught up on something. And then sometimes you get in your head and you think about all the regrets that you made in the past and all the worries, things that you possibly did wrong that you can't change. And it really can interfere with us mentally. Meditation is a great way that people can overcome being caught up in the past or the future. Other mental skills include confidence training, so training yourself to be confident in all the actions and things that you've done in life. Energy management, controlling your energy and placing your energy in appropriate like channels and outlets. Self-awareness, being aware of all your mistakes, being aware of everything that you've done and being okay with it. And then productive thinking, just always being positive about what you're doing and being productive in kind of your day-to-day task and activity. So there's lots of ways we can practice mindfulness and other mental skill techniques. Last slide here looks at burnout. Have you ever been burned out by a sport or an activity? Because I certainly have. Feeling exhausted, mental, emotional, physical exhaustion that you just don't want to do it anymore. Negative moods or feelings associated with the activity. It could be anything from, what should I say? Sorry. Lack of accomplishment. Maybe you just haven't been, come here. Maybe you just haven't done well, staleness, adaptation, all of this. And then another is entrapment, where you're trapped in an activity and you're just not enjoying it. And you keep doing it and doing it and doing it. And you're just really are not having fun. You really don't like it anymore. So burnout, where you just don't want to do it anymore, or entrapment, where you feel like you're stuck in an activity. How can we prevent burnout or entrapment? I actually do have an answer with this one. And it's create more variety in your workouts and your activities that you're doing, or if you are playing a sport, again, making it more fun by creating a varied type of drills and activities within that activity, or just completely change the workout in general. So adding a variety of different exercises can help, a variety of different drills. Another is to seek out challenges, and to maybe get into the goal setting thing again and set some challenging goals that can be like worked towards, that you can work towards those. And so seek out challenges, a variety of activity, and then also add some rest days to where you're focused more on your like self, like your health, where it's like a mental health day, a physical relaxation day, and then you can come back to that within a few days or a few weeks. And so that can always help. Okay. Here are some resources for sports psychology professions and professional journals, and just different organizations related to sports psychology. But that's all I have for you. I really hope you enjoyed this lecture. Like I said, it's pretty fun. And so we'll see you in the next one, okay?